Hi guys, it's Megan Reeds and I'm here to, that's right, you guessed it, talk all about books. It's December and I fucking missed you guys. I haven't talked to you guys in like 2.5 weeks. I took a little break after November's craziness, and then actually right after I took this break and I was like, oh, I don't know, maybe I'll do another video, I'll see. I actually had a family emergency. Everything is fine, thank God, but it was a little touch and go there for a little bit with a family member of mine. Luckily, they are perfectly fine and healthy, so thank God for that, but it was a little intense and crazy. So now we're in December. And I'm here to talk to you about a book. And this book I'm about to talk about, let me tell you right now, it's a doozy. Doozy of a book, okay? The Ink Black Heart by Robert Galbraith. I'm taking a moment just because I need to absorb the fact that I fucking finished it finally. I've been reading this book for 6 days, and that is very, very unlike me. I can get through a book in 1 day, 2 days, maybe 3, maybe 4, maybe 4 if it's pretty big, okay? Maybe, all right? This took forever. This book, you ready for this? Whoa. 1,024 pages. Your girl did it. I don't know how. I really don't. There was some dedication involved in reading a book of that length in 5 days. Now let's go into the Ink Black Heart really quickly. Let me do a little backstory, because there is a backstory. This is a part of the Cormoran Strike book series. I've actually been reading this book for many, many years. I started with the very first book in the series, The Cuckoo's Calling, which I really love that book. That was a really good book. I'm really into mysteries and thrillers. If you are a new person to my channel and you didn't know that about me, I love mysteries, I love thrillers, and I love anything that has to do with detective books. So I've actually been reading this series for quite a while. Years, in fact. I think over 8 years I've been reading the series, if I'm correct. And this is the 6th book in the series. From what I understand, there is going to be 10 books in this series total, but we'll see. TV shows have been developed for this by the BBC. This is a really big series. Also, Robert Galbraith, if you did not know, many people know, it got exposed years ago, so it's not any kind of an insider secret here, is a pseudonym actually for J.K. Rowling. Now, before I start about this book, I would just like to say J.K. Rowling is a very controversial author, especially now after she's come out with some horrible remarks. And I do not support anything she said. I don't understand her as a human being, but I do like this series. I kind of put who this person is to one side and just enjoy the actual series that I've loved for years. So I like to pretend it's just Robert Galbraith. There's absolutely no J.K. Rowling at all associated with this series, but I do know she's a controversial person, and I would just like to say personally, I do not support her way of thinking. I 100% do not, and I think the things she has said is absolutely deplorable. However, I do really enjoy this series, and I'm just talking about these books as the book. I do realize who this author is. I do realize that they're very controversial, and I do realize that what they have done and said publicly is not okay, and I stand 100% with the fact that it is not okay. I just want to say that before we start with this review. This book is good. It is a good book. It's not a bad book. This series is actually a very good series. Overall, it's a detective series about Cormoran Strike and his partnership with Robin Ellicott. It's British, so sometimes the names just go a little hoo-hoo for my head. I try though, I really do. And they have a detective agency. They work together in that detective agency, and they solve crimes. Each novel is a standalone case of what has happened in within a year or so of them working together, what cases. A lot of them are high profile. They've become very famous throughout. I'm sorry, I'm looking, my dog's making sounds over here. And I'm just like, what's going on? Because I'm filming in my kitchen. I never film in my kitchen. But they work multitude of cases. And like I said, this series has been going on for years and years. This book is about the Ink Black Heart, which is the title of the book. And it's actually based on YouTube. The story itself is centered around a YouTube channel that had became very famous, and it was for teenagers and adults, predominantly towards teenagers, and it had very dark humor, very comic style way of filming, and it became big and ended up becoming like a Netflix show and all these things. And what happened is one of the creators, a woman, was targeted by this person named I'm going to try to say the name right because of the way it's spelled, Anime. It's kind of like Anonymous, a Q on Anonymous, more or less, excuse me. And she's been targeted online for years. And it talks about online bullying and harassment, and people were putting her address up. She went to the detective agency and found Robin, who is one of the detectives with Quorum and Strike, and basically said, you need to help me. And they said, we would love to, but we don't know cybercrime. That's not what we do here, more or less. I'll recommend you to somebody. And she was very scared, very confused. She's been stalked for 5 years by this stranger online. Nobody seems to be able to help her. And now that a movie's being made, more people are coming out of the woodwork. And these people who are her fans ended up making a video game based on her characters that they don't make money off of. It's just something they do creatively, and Anime is a part of that group. And he and or she, we don't know if it's a male or a female, is basically putting all of these people to stalk her, to find out information on her. It's very trolling. And what ends up happening is they don't take the case, and a couple of days later, Robin's reading the newspaper and finds out she's been murdered. And her co-writer, who was her ex-boyfriend, has also been attacked, and he is paralyzed. And they decide to take the case and to figure out what happened, because Robin feels a lot of guilt that she didn't take it, even though it wasn't her fault. It's not something they usually do. And they ended up actually, by looking into things, being hired by the actual company, the Netflix company that's bought the show. So they're looking up everything. They're trying to find everything online. And this book is really dark. The language that is used in this book is absolutely grotesque and disgusting. It says words about the very, very big trigger warnings in this book. These people are trolls online. If you don't know what a troll is, let me be here to explain it to you. Those are the people online that are keyboard bullies and think that they can say whatever they want behind the screen, and it doesn't really matter. And let's be honest, we've all faced that in our life, and it absolutely sucks when somebody's coming at you or being disgusting or degrading just because of how you look, or content that you just want to put out to make everybody happy, including yourself. So absolutely, the writing in this is very well written, don't get me wrong, but it is a lot. It's an absolute lot. There are trigger warnings for the R word, for abuse, horrible, degrading language towards women. These people are trolls, so it is written in the plot with a purpose. It's not just gratuitous, disgusting words for no purpose. It's the purpose of showing how these people actually do act online. And anyone that knows anything about trolls knows what I'm talking about. You see that all the time. It's just disgusting to obviously sit and read a 1,000-page book where gratuitous language is discussed every 5 minutes. It's a lot. I did enjoy the book. I enjoyed the plot, but I thought it was way too fucking long. This book was insanely long. 1,024 pages. That is fucking ridiculous for a mystery. Any mystery. I don't care. And considering this is a series and this is book 6 in the series, I feel like it's a little pretentious. The first book, Cuckoo's Calling, was 464 pages. Reasonable. And it progressed from there. But when you expect somebody to sit down for over 1,000-page book that's 6 in a series, that's insane. That's insane to expect that of your audience. And honestly, I felt like the book was just drawing out so much that it didn't need to do. This mystery could have been solved and been very neat and put together very well and very satisfying with, I'll even go 515 pages. I'll go a little over what I would normally think is deemed okay for a mystery. I usually think anything over 430 is a little much for a mystery, but if it has a really engaging plot, then I'm okay for like 515. This was so long, it was insane. And the ending, I found myself liking everything. Don't get me wrong. I really enjoyed it. But at the same time, I was like, it's just too much. It's just too much. I felt like the ending we had spent so long building up to who it could be, why it could be. First of all, there were so many suspects. There were like 60 different suspects at one time. And I was trying to remember everybody's name. And I was like, who are you talking about now? Who are you talking about now? Way too many characters. I think it could have been simplified with 10 to 12 suspects, not 20. That would have been very nice. And there were subplots that I just deemed very uninteresting. And after 6 books in the series, I'm like, do we really need this? A lot of it was filler, and you could tell it was filler. And it was written very obviously as filler. I also thought the ending, which was good, don't get me wrong, like The Who, I also, at the same time, felt kind of let down by The Who because I was like, we could have got here so much faster. What was this? And then when we got to The Who, when we got to the why, I felt kind of let down because it was all this build up for the like 5 pages of explanation. I'm like, really? Really? I sat through 1,000 pages for 5 minutes of you to tell me why? That's it? It wasn't a bad book. I do enjoy the series, so I will read the next one because I'm invested. I'm 6 books into this bitch. Now, for you, as someone that's a brand new viewer and maybe has never read the books, I totally get it if you don't want to try it out. I also became a fan of this series years before everything with J.K. Rowling started, so I've been reading this book series for 7, 8 years. So I understand if somebody who is a new reader is like, you know what, this author is way too controversial, has done some very upsetting things, and I don't even want to give this novel a chance. I totally get that and respect it 100% and agree with you in many ways. I'm just invested in Coram and Strike and Robin because I do really like the characters. I'm here for the characters. I stay for them. But everything else, I'm like, also, there's this will they, won't they? And this is book number 6, and they still haven't kissed yet. And after 1,000 pages, I want a little makeout, okay? I want to pay off, and I got nothing. Nothing. And I don't know when book 7's coming out. I hope it's in like a year and a half because this book just made me so exhausted. I also have an Instagram page where I do reviews on every book that I'm more or less talking about in a video. And I'm so exhausted that I'm going to have to talk about it again because this book has dominated the last like 5 days of my life when it comes to any free time that I've had as a mother. Anytime I have a moment of peace, it's like, grab the book because we got to get through this. It's like, it ended up becoming not so enjoyable in many ways because of its length and of its subject matter, which was really touch and go for me. But that's my review. That's The Ink Black Heart by Robert Galbraith. That's it. I do say it's a good book. If you want to check it out, I'm not going to say no. But you have to get through 5 other books before you get to this one. And honestly, by this review, you're probably not going to read it. And that's okay because we got a lot of pages to get through because this is 1,000. The first one's like 460, and then the next one's like 5, and then 6, and then 7, and then 8, and it's a lot of pages to get to a story where the characters still have this been in this standstill for over 5 years of the timeline of this being like, I think I'm in love with you, but I won't say it. It's a little like scratches your head, but I'm invested, so I have to do this. I have to talk about it. But that is the book, and I will be back with you in the next clip talking about a next book that I can 100% guarantee with such happiness will be so much shorter than what this book was. I'll see you guys in the next clip. Bye. Hi guys, I'm back, and I'm back to talk to you not about one book. No, let's not get crazy. Let's get crazy-er. I am here to talk about 2 books. I actually decided, let me take a couple of days and read more than 1 book at a time because I wanted to give you more of an update. I wanted to make this a little bit longer, and also things have been a little crazy here because Christmas is a-coming, and I have a very small child, so Christmas is a very exciting time, a lot of planning, a lot of gift giving, a lot of everything. And actually today, the day I am filming this part, it is my cousin's birthday, and they are 15 years old. That's right, I said they because I have triplet cousins and they just turned 15. So it's been, I can't believe how old they're getting. They're gonna watch this video when it goes live in a couple of days actually. So it's like it's been a weird day and it's been a crazy day and a crazy couple of days with just life being what it is. So I was like, let me wait, let me not film when I have 1, let me wait till I have 2 books done. It'll be so much. 2 books. Sorry, I'm a little out of frame. When I have 2 books. And the first book we're going to talk about is the first book I actually read. Amazing. Actually, both of these books were great. I fucking love them. So let's get started with this one. Boop. All Her Little Secrets by Wanda M. Morris. Look at this cover too. This beautiful cover. Absolutely love the cover. Love the way it looks. Hello, focus. We're trying. My camera's being super weird, but Fantastic book. I absolutely love this book. I have heard about this book before because I actually follow a booktuber, a very famous booktuber called Books and Lala, and she actually talked about this book, and I thought, this sounds really interesting. I love thrillers. I love a psychological thriller. I love a big twist. And I also love when books deal with like family secrets and trauma. I don't know what that says about me, but I like books that deal a lot with trauma. Need to go to a therapist and discuss that one. But I love this book. I thought it was so interesting. The cover drew me in. The synopsis also. I've never heard of this author before, but I'm definitely going to check out more of her work. And actually, I did a review on this book on my Instagram, and the author is so nice. She actually wrote to me and said thank you for reading her book and everything. So she's also really down to earth and really nice to us booktube people. So you know what? Even one more reason to like her and her work. But this book was so good. Let's get into what the hell it's about for those of you that do not know. This book is about Elise Littlejohn, who is a lawyer in Atlanta, and she's a successful lawyer. She came from nothing. She came from a really little town. She was very poor, a lot of poverty where she was from, and it was her and her brother and a woman named Vera who more or less raised her, and her mother was there, but her mother was an alcoholic and had lots of issues. When she was 14 years old, she was put on a bus because she got a full ride scholarship to a really good school, and ever since then she never went back to her little town. There was something that happened there. We really don't know as the audience what it was, but it was something that kept her away, and she was more or less told like, hey, start your new life, like you can talk to your brother, talk to me, Vera, and we'll get through all of this together. Where she came from somewhere and she became like a lawyer and pushed herself and did really great things. Her brother Sam kind of more or less went the other route. He's 3 years younger than her, and he ended up turning to crime and little petty thefts. Never hurt anybody, never did anything super insane or crazy, but has gotten in trouble a lot with the law, and she has always blamed herself for that fact because she left. Even though she left because she had a full ride scholarship, she left to do better for herself, but she blames herself, as many people who come from a family where there's trauma, they tend to blame themselves for things that aren't their fault. So that's kind of a little bit of her backstory. But basically what happens is Elise Littlejohn is a lawyer, very successful one, like I said. She walks into work one day. She has a meeting with her boss, Michael. He texted her and said, could you please come in a little early today? She goes up the stairs to the executive suite all the way on the 20th floor. She walks in, and there he is, dead in the chair. Now, she sees a gun and she assumes it's suicide. It looks like suicide, more or less. There's no guards. There's nobody there. She came in very early. She also knows there are no cameras on the 20th floor. And most people would call the police. But Elise doesn't like the police for many reasons. A lot of the reasons are very good fucking reasons. So she decides, nobody knows I'm here. I'm just going to leave. They're going to find him anyway. I had absolutely nothing to do with this no matter what. So I'm just going to leave and go into my own office and just pretend I'm as shocked as everybody else when we hear about this news. What makes matters worse, though, yeah, he's not just her boss. She's been sleeping with him for years, and they're very close. So he gets murdered. At first we all think that it's a suicide, which makes sense. You know, there's a gun there, although she's doubting it even then, because she's like, he's not the type. I've known him for years. We've been having an affair. I do know who he is, and I can't get entangled in this mess due to the fact that I'm in this company, due to the fact of where I came from and all these secrets that she does keep, which is why this book, all her secrets, she's got plenty of them to spare. They open up an investigation, and more or less it is declared that it is a murder, not a suicide. It's somebody who tried to cover it up to look like a suicide and did not do a good job. Now, as this is all going on, she gets a phone call from the guys on the 20th floor, and they talk to her, and they basically tell her, hey, we want to give you Michael's job. And she's a little confused because she definitely deserves it. She's got the credentials for it. She's busted her ass long enough, but it's not how they usually do business. It's not done in 5 seconds. There's usually a whole board of directors. Everybody talks about it. That's not how this is done. And she's more or less kind of suspicious from the beginning. Also, one thing that is a very big talking point in this book is the fact that she is the only woman of color in the entire company. She's the only woman of color that is now being promoted. There's also picketers outside about the fact that this place does not have a lot of people of color above the 5th floor. A lot of talk of racism, a lot of talk of injustice. And she thinks like they're trying to hire me up so then the protesters will go away and I'll be like, you know, the person in the forefront being like, hey, look, we do like change. Look at who we hired, kind of situation. She more or less suspects that, but hey, a job is a job and she damn sure deserves it, so she's going to take it. But she starts to notice little things are going wrong. There's something wrong with the owner of the company. He starts to forget things. He's very hazy on details. People won't look her in the eye. There's a lot of racism, there's a lot of judgment, there's a lot of hatred, and she doesn't really understand where it's coming from. She also finds out that one of the people that is suspected of the murder is her own brother, and he's being set up by people within her company, and she's wondering why and more or less how this is all tied to her. It's a really good story. It's a lot of drama, it's a lot of intrigue, it's a lot of there are some conversations that definitely have to be had about racism, and there's parts of this book that honestly are really gross because of how people treat others, but obviously it is a story that needs to be told, and I more or less pegged where this story was going early on, but that's because I've read novels quite similar in this sphere, I'll say. But I thought it was very well written. I thought the characters were really dynamic. Elise Littlejohn's backstory was very interesting. This book is told in the present and also in 1979 when she was 14 years old and she left, and you slowly peel back the layers finding out why she left and also why she has as many secrets as she does, why she doesn't like the police, why she blames herself for Sam. Like all these things kind of more or less get explained. This book does go to some places I didn't expect it. Some things happen to some characters that I definitely didn't expect. I loved the ending of this book. I thought that it was insanely well written. I loved how it was told in the past and in the present. I felt for Elise's character. A lot of the things that she had gone through were really horrible and deplorable, and it was really hard to read about that. She's a woman in her 40s, and also her talking about her career and how much she's tried and fought for things, and how she also feels as a black woman that she's been overlooked in many ways, or she has to put on a certain persona to get through the day, and that's really sad to see. But I loved this book. I loved how it was written. I loved where it went. I loved the character development and everything. I thought it was such a good time. I gave this 4 stars. This is a 4-star book to me. Absolutely great. The writing was great. Like I said, characters were great. I'm very interested in reading more from this author because I've read this in a day. And this is, how many pages are we through? It's not a short book, but it's not very long either. It's 371 pages. But let me tell you, I didn't get bored, not one bit. I was intrigued. Every chapter, I was like, I'll just read one more. I'll just read one more. And then I ended up reading on the first day, the first 12 hours, I guess. I read over almost 300 pages, and I was like, oh crap. I wasn't expecting to do that, but I really, really, really loved it. It was such a good time, and I cannot wait to read more from this author. You ready for the next book? Oh, yeah, if my camera just jingled, that's because I just smacked the book. Oh, yeah, because I'm a dope. So the next book that we're going to talk about is actually a book of the month from September. It was a book of the month. I've had this for a bit. I don't know why I haven't read it before now, but I'm excited to read it. I was excited to read it, and now I'm excited to talk about it. Thank you. My brain is going. And that would be this, Killers of a Certain Age. Really, really, really good, by Deanna Raybourn. I hope I'm saying that right. Deanna Raybourn. Sounds correct. I just finished this, actually. I just finished this book today. It took me 2 days to read this book, and it was amazing. It was amazing. It was so fucking good. I absolutely love this book. I've never read anything from this author before. Actually, when I got this, I assumed that this was a brand new author. Maybe she had never written anything before. She's actually written a shit ton of things, and I cannot wait to check out her other stuff. And a part of me is really hoping that there's going to be a sequel to this, but I don't think so. It works as a standalone perfectly, don't get me wrong. So if there's no sequel, it's great. It's great all by itself. But I don't want to say goodbye to the characters, so that's why I really hope that there's something else. Now, Killers of a Certain Age, let me tell you what this book is about. It's about killers that are a certain age. It is about these 4 women that are in their 60s, very early 60s, 59, 60 years old, and they have worked for the same company for 40 years and they're retiring. Sounds good. They get a trip to go on a cruise all together as a group. Very exciting time, happens all the time, except the job that they're stopping isn't just any job. You know, they're not accountants. They're, not nurses and or doctors. They're not lawyers. They're assassins. Oh, yes. 4 women assassins. And they've been doing this since 1979. And they're about to retire. They don't really want to retire, but they're at that age. Their bodies can't do the same thing that they used to be able to do, or at least that's what people think. And these 4 women, Billy, Mary Alice, Helen, and Natalie, they were all retiring. They're on the ship. They're hanging out together. Good times, talking about everything. They are from a team called Sphinx, and they are the first 4 women to ever work together in an assassin's organization. They've only ever worked together, and they've done it for 40 years. So they're also very close friends. They have a really good dynamic with each other. Each of them have their own skill set. Billy is more or less the narrator that we follow the entire book. She is good at hand-to-hand combat. That's her specialty. Mary Alice is really good at doing poisons. Helen is a sharpshooter. She can shoot from far away. She's absolutely fantastic. And Natalie is good at bombs and good at lockpicking. They're good at other things as well, obviously, but those are their specific specialties that they bring to the dynamic. Now, what ends up happening is they're on the cruise. They're having a good time, some Mai Tais, having fun. And Billy realizes that she recognizes somebody. And the guy she recognizes is someone from their company, and she realizes he has to know that they're all here on the ship, and he's not saying hello, which means he's there on a mission. He's there on an assignment, and if he's there on an assignment and he's not saying hi, there's a pretty good idea one of those 4 are the assignment, which is to kill one of them. They do a little recognizance. They find out, no, it's not to kill one of them, it's to kill all 4 of them. They've been targeted for an assassination. And they basically try to get off the boat. They end up in hiding. They end up trying to find out why their organization that they worked for 40 years is trying to kill them. It's so good. It's so interesting. And these women, let me tell you something. Age ain't nothing but a number for them, because they're kicking ass. They're taking names. It's bloody. It's gruesome. It's hilarious, too, the way they all talk to each other. There's also flashbacks from 1978 to when they all met and how they were trained, and a little backstory on their life, which is really interesting and really well written. I loved these characters. I loved Billy. Billy was the best. I also love that name for a woman main character. She was a badass. She had gone through quite a bit in her life. I loved how she wanted what she wanted, and they all believe in justice and in their own brand of justice. And there's something about that you can't exactly say is wrong. They only ever kill people that are targeted, and it's people that are bad people who have done horrible and deplorable things. They're actually accused of going rogue and doing a bunch of killings they never did. So what do they decide to do? Well, if you're not going to listen to us, and nobody's going to listen, then we're going to go after every one of you fuckers that thought that we did something. And then you'll have to listen to us when we say that we didn't do it. They try to find out who put the hit on them, why. There's a lot of flashback scenes of who could have done it, why they would have done it. It was so good. It was so good. It was so interesting. The writing was awesome. It was bloody, like I said. It was also amazing and funny. And these 4 women are friends. They've been friends since they were basically 18, 19 years old. So they have a lot of history with each other, and they trust each other in a way that they'll never trust anyone else. And I love watching badass women taking names with no apologies, being 100% who they are, whatever that might be, and whoever that might be, which is really interesting as well. I think I've said this now like 3 times, but it's so good. The writing was so smart, and it was so interesting, and it was so engaging. And you know what this This book made me think 100 times of this movie. And when I was describing the plot to my friend, she was like, Megan, does this make you think of the movie Red with Bruce Willis? And I'm like, yes, but with women. It's very Red. And if you like that movie with Bruce Willis, then definitely read this, because if that's the kind of vibes that you're interested in, basically think of everything that happened, not everything that happened in Red, but a lot of really interesting parts of that film, and reading it. If you're into it, you'll fucking love it. It was so good. I literally tonight, I think I actually might watch the movie, because this made me feel like I need some Bruce Willis in my life. That's what this was giving me. Female Bruce Willis. That's what Billy was. Female Bruce Willis. Bruce Willis, Billy. I can see it even more now. I can see it even more. And it was good. I read this book in 2 days, and it was, again, not a lot of pages. 353 pages. It just came out in September, so I highly, highly recommend that you check this out. This book, I gave 5 stars. So actually, this one, I rated even higher than All Her Little Secrets, and I loved All Her Little Secrets, don't get me wrong, but this, my camera is just not zooming correctly. It's okay. I'm also going to put up pictures of the book during the entire time, because I just want to make sure, obviously, that you know what I'm talking about and what book. But it was fantastic. I absolutely, absolutely loved it. I would highly recommend it. And actually, I would recommend it for any time of year, not even like Halloween or spooky season or anything. I thought it was so good, and I actually wish I had gotten to it sooner, but I'm kind of happy that I didn't, so now I could sit here and talk to you guys about it. So highly, highly, highly recommend it. Interesting and intriguing characters, good backstory, really amazing action scenes to read. I was engaged the entire time, and I never wanted to stop reading. So when that happens, that's a 5 for me, always. And the characters had very interesting backstories, and there was a moment with Billy towards the end of the book when something happened, and when you read it, you'll know, and I felt really connected to her as a character, and I liked how they did certain revelations for everybody. I thought it was really interesting. So that's a 5-star for me. I hope that you like me talking about these 2 books, and I am going to be back in the next clip. I hear fire trucks. Hold on. Oh, I hear police cruiser, not fire trucks, Dopey. I think we're good. Okay, I'll continue. But those are the 2 books that I actually read in the last couple of days. There's another book that I'm going to be reading starting tomorrow, and I'm super, super, super excited to talk about that book. You'll see that in the next clip. I'm actually buddy reading it with a really good friend of mine through the BookTube community, so I'm super excited to see if we like it. It has wonderful, wonderful reviews. It's one of those books that everybody's been telling me to read, and I keep saying I will, and then I don't. So I'm going to rectify that situation before the end of this month, so that will be happening in the next clip that you see me in. So I really hope that you like these books. I'm going to put them in front of my face. Hold on. So these 2 books were the ones that I just read, and they were absolutely amazing, and I will see you in the next clip to talk about our next read. Bye. Hey guys, I'm back to talk about some more books, and actually I'm back to talk about 2 books. I did it again. I waited till I had 2 whole books to talk about, and these are really exciting books. Also, as you can see, it's hair washing day, so I'm up in a very, very messy bun situation, so sorry for the disheveledness that is me. But we are here to talk about books, and let me tell you, we got 2 super good ones to talk about, and I'm so excited. This is also going to probably be, no, there's no probably about it. This is going to be the end of the 2 weeks of the first video in December. So I hope you liked everything that I talked about, and we're going to be talking about these last 2 books, and then that's it. And then in 2 weeks I'll do another video, and that'll be the end of the year video, which is insane. This year has gone by so fast, and I've been doing this since late August, early September, and I feel like that has taken like so much time. It's insane to me. It's so crazy, but I'm having so much fun, so I hope you guys are enjoying this as well. I really, really hope so. But without further ado, let's talk about the first book that I got right over here, because both of these books are physical copies. Again, I've been so good today. I've been so good with the physical books lately. Not that I don't love Kindle and audiobook, but the physical, I've been trying my darndest, I'll tell you that. But this first book was the book that actually in the last clip I said, everybody's telling me to read it. Everybody says it's so good. I've gotten so many people telling me, check it out. What are you, crazy? Why wouldn't you read this author? She's so great. And then earlier this year, I actually read The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. You might see where I'm going when I say a book of that title, that I'm going with Taylor Jenkins Reid, who is a huge author, and I decided to pick up, I don't think anybody's going to be surprised. You ready for this? Woo! Daisy Jones and the Six. First of all, can we just talk about this cover? How fucking gorgeous this cover is. I love this. I actually kind of want to print this cover and like put it on a wall or something. This is very like 1970s beautiful, like Janis Joplin situation. I friggin' love this cover. Love this cover so much. I actually found this in Walmart for Black Friday. And when I saw it, I was like, I'm picking it up immediately. And I finally read it a couple days ago, and I could not put this book down. It was so fucking amazing. Taylor Jenkins Reid can write in a way that it's insane to me. I don't like historical fictions. I've never liked historical fiction, and call me crazy, right? Evelyn Hugo and this are both categorized as historical fictions, and I'm like, really? But I like them. It's so weird. The way she writes, you're immediately transported to whatever time it is, and you're immediately engaged with the characters, and you fall head over heels in love with them. Even the ones that are crazy. Actually, fall in love with the crazy ones even more, which Daisy Jones right here, fell so in love with her, and this book is absolutely amazing. I'm also going to put a picture up in the corner. I'm going to assume it's going to be here, but watch, it'll be here, and I'll be furring with this finger, editing. But so good. I just keep staring. Let me put it down. But let me tell you what this book is about. It's actually about Daisy Jones and the Six. Crazy, right? It's about a fictional rock band that was in the 1970s. That's another thing I'm saying. Taylor Jenkins Reid is so amazing because she created a narrative that is false. This is not a real band. She made this up completely. But this book is told in interviews as if this is a real story, as if this is a real in-depth book that's being made and or interview of some kind. It's absolutely phenomenal, and the book is about Daisy Jones, like I said, and the Six, and their rise to fame, how they met, how they became one of the biggest bands in the world of the time, and how they ultimately fell apart, and where everybody is now, and what has happened, and the story of why everything really happened, the true insider take that everybody's always wanted to know. Daisy Jones is a beautiful red-headed girl who can sing her ass off. They compare her singing actually to Janis Joplin, which, I mean, Janis Joplin was fucking Janis Joplin, so that's a very big undertaking to say to somebody. And they say that she's absolutely stunning. She has big red hair. She's very thin. It was the 70s. Thin was in. God knows. And she's really into the music scene. She's a groupie. She loves being around bands since she was 14 years old. She just is a little wild, a little crazy. She comes from a very rich family who do not understand her and do not support her in any way at all in life. So she fell in love with the music scene. She fell in love hard with drugs and partying and dancing, and she's a very outspoken person. She is who she is, and she's unapologetically herself, and I immediately love that about this character. Sometimes I feel like main characters, especially women, have to quote unquote apologize for who they are and the behavior they have that's not exactly ladylike, and she's like, fuck that shit. I mean, I am who I am, and if you don't like me, you can just look away from me, which I really appreciate. She's also a very talented singer. Like I said, like Janis Joplin, she has a very throaty, raspy voice that you don't expect to come out of this little girl, because she's a very short, very little, very thin woman. And she's a songwriter. She does great songs. She ends up being signed to a record label, and she doesn't really believe in it because it's not her stuff. It's not her songs. They're basically telling her what to do, what to sing, and she's not really happy about that. She's also heavily into drugs, heavily into sleeping with multiple partners, just living the 70s life that we've seen in TV, we've seen in movies, and people who might be watching this that are older lived, you know? She takes black beauties to stay skinny. She does coke. She does all these things. And Now, the second part is The Six. The Six is a rock band that started all on its own aside from Daisy Jones. And the lead singer is Billy Doon and his brother Graham Doon. They started the band. And it was originally called the Doon Brothers, and later on they decided to rename it. But Billy is a big lead singer. He's gorgeous, he's sweet, he's smart, he's funny, he's a writer. He writes every one of the songs. He taught himself guitar. He's very charming and charismatic and 100% talented. And when him and his brother are quite young, they make a band. The band ends up starting to get popularity and becoming famous. And during that situation of them becoming famous, they make an album. The album does well, but it could do better. And they realize what could make the band better but Daisy Jones herself. And if she contributed with Billy and they started writing together, like what magic it could happen. And more or less that's what this book is. It's them coming together, them liking each other, hating each other, not really getting along. Every time there's a fire truck, every time I record, there's no way. Day, night, doesn't matter. It's just always here. But Billy is also a recovering addict. At the beginning of this novel, he's heavily into drugs due to the fact that he has an impending fatherhood, and he's very nervous and scared about that. I thought that was written really well. I felt for these characters immediately. And Daisy is everything that he was. And he's terrified of her in many ways. And also in love with her in many ways. Although he loves his wife. It's a book. It's a book about so many things. It's a book about, obviously, music. Obviously, finding somebody that you can connect with. It's about love. It's about addiction. It's about being young and not really knowing exactly where you fit and trying to create a situation for yourself. It's told in interviews, like I said, so you're actually talking to all these characters and it's like they're saying what happened. It's very documentary style to read as a novel, which is really cool. They talk about their songs that they wrote. Daisy and Billy wrote all the songs. One thing that is amazing about this book, I'm very, very excited. I know it's being turned into a movie. Here we go again. It's being turned into a movie. And I found out that as I was reading it. And I was like, I'm just way behind on shit. And Elvis's granddaughter is actually going to play Daisy Jones. So I'm very excited to see how she does. And the guy that's playing Billy, I'm like, whew, he's so freaking gorgeous. Excited for that, let me tell you. But one thing that I absolutely love is I thought to myself, they're going to make a movie out of this. And how are they going to do the songs? You know, I'm a little nervous they're going to like butcher them more or less. But then at the very, very end of this is all the lyrics from the songs that are talked about. And I loved that. I love that little twist. There actually is one or two twists in this book. Nothing crazy. It's a book that more or less you kind of know where it's going the whole time, and yet it does something. It speaks to you. It's absolutely amazing. I love that it's obviously set in the 1970s, and I feel transported there. I feel like I am a part of it, like I lived that life. I was born in 1990, so I definitely wasn't a part of it, but I felt it, and I couldn't help it. My father was a big 60s guy. He was an older person, so he actually went to Woodstock and stuff. That was a really big thing for him. He has passed away a couple of years ago, but reading this book made me think like my father would have loved this book. Like, this is a book that is a generation, it eases the generation gap for sure, because I'm from 1990. I loved it. My father was from the early 50s. He would have loved it. It's just amazing. I know some of my friends that I know that are in their 20s love it. So it's a book that just everybody seems to enjoy in different ways. Absolutely amazing. 5-star read. One of the most easiest 5-star reads that I've given in the longest time. And Taylor Jenkins Reid, her other book, Evelyn Hugo, I gave 5 stars too. So I'm going to read in the new year Malibu Rising, and I'm really hoping that's going to be another 5-star. But even if it's not, let me tell you, 2 5-stars by this author that I'm very new on. Very good. Loved this book. Highly recommend that you check it out. It's so much fun. It's so interesting. And it's not a lot of pages. It's 351 pages. So you can get through it, as you can see. And also it's told very much like this. Like, as you can see, it's like an interview style. So it's really easy to read. It's very fast paced. So you can get through this quickly. I got through this in a day. I did not want to put this down. Absolutely amazing. Highly recommend. Now, For our next book, I actually just finished it. I just finished it about, it's 5:28. I finished it at 4:30. So like an hour ago, so it's still pretty fresh in my brain. This book, I do have the physical copy. Again, like I said, very exciting times. Except I found it on audiobook and I didn't feel like physically reading, so I do have the copy, but I did do the audio book version of this, which was great. I enjoyed it like fucking crazy. And that book would be The Collection by Allison Galen. Very, very good book. This was actually a book of the month book that I picked up. It was from November, I'm reading the back, sorry. November 2021. I did not get it in November 2021. I joined book of the month like 3 months ago, 4 months ago, but it was on one of like the list of like books you should get that looked really good. So I picked it up. It was very, very, very good. Absolutely amazing book. Let's get into the plot because we all want to know what the frig it's about, right? So it's actually about Camille Gardner, and it's a thriller. Camille Gardner, and 5 years ago she lost her daughter Emily. She was left for dead. Let's just put it like that. She was left for dead, and there was somebody that she holds responsible that the court of law said was not responsible. She was sexually assaulted and left for dead, and it's one of those situations where it's he said, she said. He came from money. He was rich. She was only 15 years old. He was a freshman in college. They went to a party together, and he gave her alcohol. She had never drank before. Did some horrible stuff to her, I'm sure you can imagine, and left her for dead in the woods. She had hypothermia and all these horrible things, and she ended up telling her mother when she went to the hospital, like, this person did this to me, and then she died. So it's been 5 years, and Camille has, rightfully so, never gotten over it. Thought justice was never done due to everything. She has just kind of forgot about herself. Her looks don't matter to her anymore. They always did. Her husband and her got divorced 3 years ago because they just couldn't cope with being together. She blamed him in some ways. He blamed her in some ways. They did get past that and are still friendly, but it's still a constant pain. So that's another reason. She works. She doesn't have to work. She works because she has to do something. She has to try to keep her mind as busy as possible because that was her only child. She was very close to her daughter, and when the news broke about more or less what happened, in the court of public opinion, they said she was a bad mother because why was your 15-year-old at a party? Which is all that bullshit of blaming the girl, when in reality this poor girl was dead and she got hurt horribly. I couldn't imagine that. She's having problems coping, and at the very beginning of the novel, she actually finds the guy. His name is Harris. He's in college. He's getting all these humanitarian awards, and she wants to just rip her hair out because she's like, how is he living? How is he breathing? How is he able to do all this shit? And my poor daughter is buried. It doesn't make sense. It's not fair. And look at his mom and dad smiling for the cameras. You know, they're very wealthy people. And she basically goes and confronts him, like, and calls him like a murderer on the stage. And she's on anti-anxiety meds. She's drunk. It goes viral, the video of her acting like this. She gets arrested, but the officer basically is like, we know your story. We know who you are. I remember you from 5 years ago. It's okay. Like, no charges are gonna be filed. They would never file charges because they know what their fucking son did. Just saying. Okay? And when she leaves, she gets a phone call. She's able to make one phone call. The person that she makes is one of her friends. He comes to pick her up. As he picks her up, there's a woman outside who hands her a card. And the card is for a support group. And it's a support group for other women that have lost children. And she goes, maybe this will be good for me. Maybe it's somebody I can talk to. These people understand my pain. They're not going to tell me to get over it. They're not going to tell me it'll get better. The only thing that's going to make it better is if he's dead. That's the only thing. And it's called The Collective, and it's a big network of all of these women all around the world, different places, that their children have been murdered, and in the court of law or the court of public opinion, these people were innocent of the crimes and they need to pay. And I'll tell you something. I'm a mother. I have an almost 2-year-old son, and reading this, I kind of understood. I'm sorry. Maybe sometimes with a thriller, you're supposed to be like, oh, these people are evil. These women were not evil to me. I'm sorry. I totally related to them. They had lost their children, and these monsters that did horrible things to them didn't pay for it. So it's the woman in me, it's the mother in me that's like, yes, get them all, which makes it a really good thriller because you're rooting for quote unquote the bad guy, which they're not. In my opinion, they're not the bad guy, at least not at the beginning. There are moments where you're like, well, maybe, but a lot of it to me makes sense. I thought the writing was really good. It was smart. It was funny. At times, there were moments of funniness. I should say moments, because when I say funny, people are gonna be like, this is not a funny situation. They were funny. How do I do this the right way? Funny situations that happened to me that were funny, because I am someone that laughs at awkward moments. So for me, I took it as that. You probably will not, which is totally fine. This was 100% a thriller. There is some brutality mentioned. You do not see it. Like, it's not going on in the moment. It's somebody talking about a past moment that had happened, not in great detail, but in some detail. Children are dead in this novel. It's mothers grieving for their children, either small children, teenagers, or adults. So this book is about grief and pain and wanting justice, and how far will you go for that justice, and what are you willing to do? And when she meets these people, more or less, it's a group of women that all help each other get the vengeance that they deserve. And at first she's gung-ho. She's fucking happy. She's like, I finally have a reason to wake up every morning because I'm helping these women. And they're going to help me get this guy. And he's going to be as humiliated and in pain as my daughter was. And there's something, maybe then I'll feel peace. That's the peace I need, because nothing else is going to do it unless he's gone from this earth. Which, again, as a mother, I get that. Because if somebody did that to my kid, I'd be right on board with the collective. Let me say, I'd be this one right here in the front. Like, let's go. Because I could not. I don't know any woman, any mother that would disagree with me on that whatsoever. So if you are a mother, this book is going to hit you in a different way. You can read it if you're not, though. It's still a really good thriller all around. But if you're a mother, this hits different. It just hits totally different than anything else. There's some twists in it that are really good. Like I said, it's well written. It's interesting. I've never read from this author before, but I will check her out again because it was really good. I read it in a day. Well, I listened to it in a day. I listened to it on and off since about like 8 a.m. On, off, doing dishes, doing whatever. And I finished it like an hour ago, and it was absolutely great. I give this 4 stars. 4 stars. It was really good, but I won't give it a 5 because in my opinion it wasn't perfect. There were some moments of holes for me, and also Camille sometimes drove me insane, just a little bit. But as a character, I did understand all of her motivations. That made sense. I also wish there was a little bit more backstory on certain moments and certain things, or some characters got a little bit more time to shine, where it was a lot of just Camille on her own and these women just talking through the computer, which I get. But we have a character named Luke. We didn't really get a lot of information. He seemed like an interesting character, so I wish I had him more as a character. Matt, the ex-husband, we rarely get him, but that would have been interesting to see a little bit more of that dynamic once certain things started to come to light. There's twists, there are turns. Absolutely good. And right on the front, no killer goes unpunished, and I like it. And they mean no killer. Like, if you do anything, you're gonna get it. Like, accident or not, don't matter. Absolutely great. So I have a 5-star read and I have a 4-star read, and I'm gonna put them up on the screen. You ready? Woohoo. So these are the books. This is a 5-star read, and this was my 4-star read. Absolutely great. I absolutely loved it. Really, really good read. Actually, this whole thing was really good. I don't think I had one book, the Ink Black Heart, that I was like, because it was 1,000 pages. But everything else I really liked. I even liked that book to an extent. I gave that a 3. I actually don't think I mentioned that I gave that a 3, but that was a 3-star. The Ink Black Heart by Robert Galbraith. But guys, that's it for another 2 weeks. Those are the books that I've read in the last 2 weeks. I hope that you like them. I hope that you've read them. And if you haven't read them, I hope that maybe now you're interested in them, because they were really good. I really enjoyed everything, and I cannot wait for you to see this video and this hair. And I can't wait to see what you think. What books have you been reading lately? What is one of your favorite books? Was there something I should check out? Let me know. I love to hear from you guys, and I obviously want to know what you think of what I read and my opinion on my reviews. Granted, they're only my opinion. You know, somebody might have given something lower or higher, but for me, I really did enjoy 99% of these books. I even enjoyed the one that drove me a little crazy. So everything was really good. Anything above a 3 to me is a good read, and I had nothing under a 3, so that was good. But that's it for now. I'm Megan Reads, and I cannot wait to see you next time. Happy, healthy, and of course, reading. Bye, guys.